The Galactic Trade Federation's central spire on New Singapore colony should have been impressive. Instead, Ambassador Elena Martinez found herself pitying the aliens' attempt at architectural intimidation. The crystalline structure reached a mere 100 stories into the sky, barely half the height of the arcologies that house most of Earth's population. More telling was how the entire building required constant environmental controls just to maintain structural integrity in Earth normal gravity. 3 years into humanity's membership in the GTF, Elena had learned to read between the lines of alien architecture. Every reinforced support beam and environmental regulator screamed the same message: "You don't belong here." The Federation had expected humans to remain in their death world corner of space, not to spread across the stars with remarkable speed. Ambassador Martinez, "The Council will see you now," chirped her alien assistant, a Vaxian named Trill. The avian creature's feathers rippled with concern. Another tell Elena had learned to read. Today's meeting wouldn't be pleasant. The council chamber felt deliberately designed to make other species feel small. The 7 representatives of the founding races sat upon elevated platforms, while junior members stood on the floor below. Elena took her place at the speaker's podium, noting how even the subtle angle forced her to look up at the council. Amateur psychological tactics, but she kept her diplomatic smile firmly in place. "Honorable Council," she began, "I understand you have concerns about the new human colony on Proxima B." High Councilor Zixtal, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns that indicated agitation, spoke first. "Concerns is an understatement, Ambassador. Your species has established a settlement on a world classified as Category 7 hostile. The atmospheric pressure alone would crush most sentient life. Yet our environmental surveys confirmed it as suitable for human habitation." Elena countered smoothly. "Our colonists are thriving there." "That is precisely the problem," came the silken voice of Councillor Rax, the serpentine Thescian scales shifting colors rapidly. "Your species continues to expand into zones deemed uninhabitable by galactic standards. It disrupts the natural order of territorial distribution." Elena's smile didn't waver, but her eyes hardened slightly. "I wasn't aware there was a natural order to which species could live where, particularly given Article 17 of the Federation Charter regarding colonial rights." The Charter. Zixtal's crystal structure vibrated with barely contained frustration. Was written with the assumption that natural environmental barriers would prevent any single species from expanding too rapidly. Your kind's ability to survive in such extreme conditions was unforeseen. "I see." Elena's voice carried just enough edge to make several council members shift uncomfortably. "So when humanity was invited to join the Federation, you assumed we would remain confined to Earth-like worlds, despite our clear documentation of our environmental adaptability. We assumed," Councillor Rax interjected, "that you would show appropriate deference to established species' territorial interests. Instead, you've claimed 12 new worlds in 3 years, most of them in regions other races considered worthless." "Worthless." Elena allowed genuine amusement to color her tone. "Proxima B has some of the richest heavy metal deposits in the sector. Its high gravity and pressure make it perfect for certain manufacturing processes. The fact that other species can't exploit these resources doesn't make them worthless. It makes them uniquely suited to human development." "Which brings us to the real issue," Zixtal declared. "The Council proposes a new amendment to the Charter. All worlds deemed Category 6 or higher hostile will be placed under Federation protection. For the safety of all species, of course." Elena's diplomatic smile vanished entirely. The chamber's temperature seemed to drop several degrees as she stood straighter, her voice carrying the weight of steel. "I see. And this proposal comes mere weeks after our geological surveys revealed platinum group metals on Proxima B. How convenient." "Your implications are offensive, Ambassador," Rax hissed. "No more offensive than attempting to legislate humanity back to Earth because you're uncomfortable with our capabilities," Elena countered. "Let me be very clear. Earth will reject any such amendment. Furthermore, We will consider any attempt to restrict human expansion based on our natural adaptations as a violation of our sovereign rights. You dare threaten the Council? Zixtal's crystalline form flashed dangerous patterns. Not at all. Elena's smile returned, sharp as a razor. I'm simply reminding the Council why humanity was invited to join the Federation in the first place. Our ability to survive and thrive in environments you find hostile isn't a threat. It's an opportunity. We can mine resources you can't reach, establish colonies in systems you can't inhabit, and expand the Federation's influence into regions previously thought unreachable. She paused, letting her words sink in. Or you can try to contain us with regulations, forcing us to reconsider the benefits of Federation membership entirely. The choice is yours. The chamber fell silent as the Council members communicated via their neural networks. Elena waited patiently, knowing her words had struck home. Humanity had played nice, following the Federation's rules and customs, but they wouldn't allow themselves to be caged by the very adaptations that had helped them survive Earth's harsh environment. Finally, Zixtal spoke again, their tone notably more diplomatic. Perhaps we were hasty in suggesting such an amendment. The Council will need time to study the full implications of specialized territorial development rights. Take all the time you need, Elena replied graciously, though her eyes remained hard. Earth's colonies will continue their development in the meantime, unless there are other matters to discuss. The Council's dismissal came quickly. As Elena left the chamber, she caught Trill's concerned gaze. They'll try something else, won't they? The Vaxian asked quietly. Of course they will, Elena sighed. They still think we're playing their game. They haven't realized yet that we've been holding back, for their sake, not ours. As her shuttle departed the spire, Elena gazed at the human ships in orbit, sleek, powerful vessels designed to withstand conditions that would tear most Federation ships apart. She hoped the Council would learn to see humanity's adaptations as an asset before they forced her people to demonstrate just how much they'd been holding back. Some lessons, she knew, came at too high a price. Dr. James Chen stared at the data scrolling across his holographic display, his hands trembling with a mixture of rage and disbelief. After 6 months of investigating mysterious equipment failures across human colonies, he'd finally found the pattern. And it was worse than anyone had imagined. The door to his lab on Proxima B hissed open, admitting his research partner. Dr. Kaya Patel, her environment suit still frosted from the planet's brutal surface conditions. One look at his face told her everything. You found something. They sabotaged us, James said quietly, his voice carrying the deadly calm of someone pushed past anger into cold fury. The Federation. Look at this. He gestured, and the holographic display expanded to show a complex network of data points. Every major equipment failure in our colonies over the past 2 years. Manufacturing accidents, environmental system glitches, mining equipment malfunctions. I thought they were random until I analyzed the quantum signatures of the failed components. Kaya's eyes widened as she studied the data. These are Federation quantum markers, but they're supposed to be unique to each manufacturer. Unless someone has access to the master encryption keys, James finished. Someone's been introducing microscopic flaws into critical components, flaws that only manifest under the extreme conditions our colonies operate in. That's why it only affected our Category 6 and above colonies, Kaya whispered. They knew other species would never try to verify the failures because they can't survive in our environments long enough to investigate. James nodded grimly. They've been trying to make it look like human expansion into hostile environments isn't viable. Make us doubt ourselves. Force us back to Earth-like worlds where we'd have to compete with other species for resources. The lab's reinforced walls suddenly felt less secure as the implications sank in. Both scientists had lived on Deathworlds long enough to develop the particular paranoia that came with surviving in environments that could kill you in seconds. We need to tell Earth Command, Kaya said, already moving toward their quantum communicator. This is an act of war. Wait. James caught her arm. We need to be smart about this. The Federation has agents everywhere. If they realize we've discovered their sabotage, they'll eliminate the evidence, Kaya finished, and probably us with it. Exactly. But I have a better idea. James' smile carried an edge that would have made Federation diplomats very nervous. They think humans are just stubborn animals who manage to crawl out of a death world. They don't understand that surviving Earth didn't just make us strong. It made us clever. Over the next week, James and Kaya worked tirelessly, using their colony's advanced manufacturing facilities to analyze and document every instance of sabotage they could find. But they didn't stop there. They began fabricating their own components, deliberately incorporating the Federation's quantum signatures in ways that would be impossible to detect without intimate knowledge of the technology. The beauty of it, James explained as they prepared their final report, is that they can't admit they recognize their own sabotage methods without incriminating themselves, and by the time they realize what we've done, it'll be too late. Their message to Earth Command was brief but comprehensive. Within hours, Ambassador Elena Martinez was requesting an emergency session of the Federation Council. This time, she didn't bother with diplomatic niceties as she strode into the chamber. Honorable Council, her voice dripped with icy sarcasm, I bring evidence of systematic sabotage against human colonies. Sabotage bearing official Federation quantum signatures. The chamber erupted in chaos. Councillor Zixtel's crystalline form flickered rapidly. These are outrageous accusations without proof. Elena's smile was terrifying in its serenity. Oh, we have proof. More importantly, we've identified exactly how the sabotage was implemented. In fact, we've become quite adept at replicating the process. She triggered a holographic display, showing technical specifications that made several council members freeze in recognition. For the past week, we've been introducing similar modifications to components being shipped to every Federation world. Don't worry, we were much more subtle than your agents. The flaws won't manifest for months, maybe years. You're bluffing, Rax hissed, but there was fear in their color-shifting scales. Am I? Elena's voice could have frozen plasma. You thought because humans evolved on a death world, we must be simple brutes who solve everything with force. You never considered that surviving Earth required something far more dangerous than physical strength. It required intelligence, adaptability, and above all, the ability to turn our enemies' weapons against them. She stepped forward, her movements carrying the weight of every human who had ever survived impossible odds. Here are our terms: a full investigation into the sabotage, conducted jointly by human and neutral species inspectors, complete access to Federation quantum encryption protocols to prevent future tampering, and a formal amendment to the Charter guaranteeing the right of any species to colonize any world they can survive on. And if we refuse, Zixtal demanded, then we'll provide every Federation world with a list of potentially compromised components in their critical infrastructure. They can choose to replace everything, bankrupting themselves in the process, or live with the knowledge that their vital systems could fail at any moment. Elena's smile never wavered. We've learned your games. The only question is whether you want to keep playing them. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had finally stopped holding back, not with violence, but with the same calculated efficiency that had allowed them to survive and thrive on Earth. The Federation had feared humans' physical capabilities while completely underestimating the real danger. Minds honed by millennia of overcoming impossible challenges. As the council hurriedly entered emergency deliberations, Elena received a private message from Dr. Chen. Did they believe the bluff? Her response was simple. Who said it was a bluff? The Horizon Medical Research Station hung in high orbit above Europa, its sleek white hull reflecting Jupiter's distant light. Dr. Sarah Y watched through the observation dome as ice crystals formed intricate patterns on the transparent aluminum, her mind elsewhere. The Federation Council had been deliberating Earth's ultimatum for 3 days, and the silence was becoming deafening. Doctor, we're ready to begin the next trial, her assistant called from the lab entrance. Sarah nodded, turning away from the view. The station's work, developing treatments for extreme environment exposure, couldn't stop for political crisis. The first warning came not from their sensors, but from Europa's surface. The ice sheets rippled in an unusual pattern, caused by gravitational distortions that shouldn't exist. Sarah felt her blood run cold as she recognized the signature: cloaked ships dropping out of hyperspace. Emergency protocols. She barked into the station's comm system. This is not a drill. All personnel to safe zones. Research containment procedures Alpha through Delta. Her team moved with practiced efficiency, despite never expecting to use these protocols outside of drills. Within minutes, their most sensitive research was secured in quantum-locked containers, and all personnel were heading to designated shelter areas. The attack, when it came, was precisely targeted. Federation shock troops, mercenaries, Sarah noted, not official military, breached the station at 3 points simultaneously. They clearly expected to find panicked scientists, easy to herd and control. What they found instead was empty corridors. "Ma'am," her security chief's voice came through her neural link. "They're heading for the primary research labs." Standard Federation tactical pattern. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. "Execute Protocol Omega. Let's show them why you don't corner scientists who specialize in survival technology." The station's environmental systems came alive with deadly purpose. Corridors sealed and unsealed in patterns designed to herd the intruders exactly where Sarah wanted them. Temperature and pressure fluctuated wildly. Nothing lethal, but more than enough to disorient species unused to environmental extremes. "They're splitting up," the security chief reported. 2 teams heading for the backup servers, 1 continuing to the main lab. Perfect. Sarah's fingers danced across her neural interface. Initiative Protocol Prometheus. In the main lab, the mercenaries found what appeared to be a treasure trove of human medical research. As they began downloading data, Sarah activated her trap. The classified files they were so eager to steal began executing hidden subroutines, bypassing their security and infiltrating their own systems. "Target their environmental systems first," she instructed the AI. "Let's see how they handle a taste of their own medicine." The effect was immediate. The mercenaries' protective suits began malfunctioning, their atmospheric processors feeding them air mixtures optimized for human biology. Harmless but extremely uncomfortable for their species. More importantly, their quantum communications were now compromised, feeding false data back to their commanders. "Second team has reached the backup servers," her security chief updated. "Initiating containment." The backup server room was a trap, a decoy filled with corrupted data and automated defense systems designed to incapacitate without killing. Sarah had argued for their installation, insisting that any attack on a medical research station would target their data first. "Final team is approaching the quantum core," the chief reported. "They're carrying demolition charges." Sarah's expression hardened. They intended to destroy the station. Release the nanites. Throughout the station, microscopic machines, originally designed for cellular repair in extreme environments, activated. They swarmed through the environmental systems, disabling weapons, corrupting demolition triggers, and systematically dismantling the mercenaries' equipment. Within 20 minutes, the attack was over. The mercenaries found themselves trapped, their weapons useless, their suits barely maintaining life support. More importantly, their own systems were now thoroughly compromised, filled with evidence linking them directly to certain members of the Federation Council. Sarah opened a channel to the mercenary commander. "This is Dr. Sarah Wei, Chief Research Officer of Horizon Station. I trust you're finding our hospitality educational." The commander's translator rendered their response as a mix of surprise and grudging respect. "We were told this was a soft target. Minimal security." "Oh, it is," Sarah replied pleasantly. "We're just a medical research station, but you seem to have forgotten something crucial about humans. Our medical research began as a way to survive on Earth. Everything we create, from medicines to environmental systems, starts with the question, how do we survive the impossible?" She paused, letting that sink in. Right now, your suits are keeping you alive using technology we developed to help humans survive in deep space. The nanites currently dismantling your weapons were designed to repair cellular damage from extreme radiation. Even the algorithms that corrupted your systems were originally meant to model viral mutations. What do you want? The commander asked, their species equivalent of fear evident in their voice. Want? I want you to deliver a message. Sarah's voice turned cold. The Federation seems to think that because humans focus on science and medicine, we're somehow soft. They forget that we had to become masters of survival just to leave our own planet. Everything we create, every piece of technology we develop, comes from that legacy. She opened all the sealed corridors, allowing Federation peacekeepers, who had just arrived in response to the station's distress call, to reach the trapped mercenaries. Tell your employers that attacking the human medical station was their worst mistake. Not because of what we did to stop you, but because now they've forced us to demonstrate just how dangerous human ingenuity can be. As Federation investigators swarmed the station, Sarah received an urgent communication from Earth Command. The Federation Council had suddenly, unanimously, accepted all of humanity's terms. She smiled, knowing that news of what happened at Horizon Station would spread quickly through Federation space. The message would be clear. Humans hadn't been holding back just their physical capabilities, but their true strength, the ability to turn any knowledge, any technology, into a means of survival. The Federation had feared human strength while completely missing the real lesson of Earth. True power wasn't in the ability to destroy, but in the relentless drive to survive, adapt, and overcome. They had just learned that lesson the hard way. Archaeologist Zora Patel stood before the ruins of an ancient Thessian city on Proxima b, her environment suit barely registering the crushing atmospheric pressure. Around her, a team of mixed species worked together in what would have been impossible just months ago. Humans providing environmental protection while Federation specialists handled the delicate work of preservation. The ruins shouldn't have existed. Thessians couldn't survive on this world for more than a few minutes, even with the best protection. Yet here was evidence of a thriving colony from over 10,000 years ago. Remarkable, isn't it? The voice came from Nuttall, a Thessian historian who watched through remote sensors from orbit. We always wondered how our ancestors survived here. Now, looking at your species, we begin to understand. Zara carefully extracted another artifact from the ruins, a piece of technology that looked surprisingly similar to modern human environmental systems. They adapted, she said simply, just like we did. The discovery of the ruins had come shortly after the Horizon Station incident, and its timing couldn't have been more perfect. It proved that other species had once possessed the same drive to overcome hostile environments that humanity now displayed. They had simply lost it over millennia of comfortable existence. In orbit, the Federation science vessel Harmony maintained position alongside the human research ship Magellan. On the Harmony's bridge, Captain Lix of the Vaxian fleet watched the humans work with a mixture of fascination and growing respect. Your people moved through that environment as if it were nothing, they remarked to their human counterpart, Captain Miguel Santos, over the comlink. Yet you choose to help us study these ruins rather than claim them for yourselves. Miguel's laugh carried even through the translation software. Why would we claim them? This is Thessian history, their legacy. We're just helping them reclaim it. The exchange was being broadcast across Federation channels, part of a new initiative for greater transparency between species. Across the galaxy, billions watched as humans demonstrated not just their physical capabilities, but their willingness to use those abilities to help others. On New Singapore, Ambassador Elena Martinez sat in a very different council chamber than the one she'd confronted months ago. The elevated platforms had been removed, replaced by a circular arrangement that put all species at the same level. It was a small change, but a symbolic one. The joint expedition to the Proxima ruins represents everything the Federation should stand for. She addressed the council. Different species working together, each contributing their unique strengths. Isn't that better than trying to hold each other back? Counselor Zixtal, their crystalline form showing patterns of agreement, spoke next. We have reviewed the preliminary findings from the expedition. The evidence suggests that many of our species once possessed greater adaptability, abilities we lost because we chose comfort over challenge. Perhaps, added Counselor Rax, their scales now showing patterns of thoughtful contemplation. Humanity's presence in the Federation isn't just about their current capabilities. They remind us of what we once were and what we could be again. The discussion turned to practical matters. Federation scientists were already studying human environmental adaptation techniques. In return, humans were learning about technologies they hadn't yet discovered. The exchange of knowledge was transforming both sides, but the most significant changes were cultural. On dozens of worlds, Federation youth were beginning to question the comfortable limitations their societies had accepted for generations. They looked at humans not with fear, but with inspiration. On a remote Federation colony, a young Vaxian engineering student named Trill, no relation to the ambassador's assistant, had modified their environmental suit using human principles. They became the first of their species in centuries to walk on the surface of their high-gravity world rather than living in orbital habitats. The video of their first steps went viral across Federation space. When asked why they did it, their answer was simple: because humans showed us that impossible is just another word for not trying hard enough. In the Martian colonies, a group of Federation scientists worked alongside humans to develop new terraforming techniques. The project's success rate increased dramatically once they stopped trying to make every world Earth-like and instead focused on adapting to each planet's unique conditions. Ambassador Martinez found herself spending more time coordinating scientific exchanges than handling diplomatic crises. The Federation was changing, not through force or fear, but through the simple demonstration of what was possible when you refused to accept limitations. It's ironic, she remarked to her old friend Trill during a private moment. They feared we would destroy them, but instead we're helping them rebuild something they lost. The drive to overcome challenges rather than avoid them. Trill's feathers rippled with amusement. Perhaps that's the real reason humans evolved on a death world. Not just to develop your own strength, but to remind the rest of us of ours. The message spread across the galaxy. Humanity's greatest gift to the Federation wasn't their physical capabilities or their technology. It was the revival of something far more precious: the belief that any challenge could be overcome with enough determination, creativity, and cooperation. As Zara continued her work in the ancient ruins, she found herself thinking about the future rather than the past. The Federation was changing, evolving, remembering what it meant to face challenges head-on rather than retreat from them. And humans, it seemed, had found their true role in the galaxy, not as warriors or conquerors, but as teachers, reminding other species of their own forgotten potential. 5 years after the Horizon Station incident, the Galactic Trade Federation had transformed beyond recognition. The gleaming spire on New Singapore still stood, but it now housed something unprecedented: the Interspecies Adaptation Institute, where beings from across the galaxy came together to push the boundaries of what was possible. Ambassador Elena Martinez stood in her old adversary's office, watching ships dock at the station through a window that no longer needed constant environmental controls. The crystalline form of former Counselor Zixtal had been modified using human-inspired technology, allowing them to function in a wider range of conditions. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Zixtal asked, their crystal structure refracting light in patterns of wonder. "When you first confronted the Council, I mean." Elena smiled, remembering those tense early days. "Honestly, I expected war. We all did. That's why we held back for so long. We knew what would happen if humans truly unleashed their full capabilities. Instead, you unleashed something far more powerful," Zixtal observed. "Hope, inspiration, the belief that limitations exist to be overcome." Below them, in one of the Institute's main laboratories, Dr. Sarah Wei, now the facilities director, supervised a breakthrough project. A team of Thesian scientists had successfully adapted their biology to survive in high-pressure environments, using techniques derived from both human research and their own rediscovered ancient knowledge. The latest survey results are in, Elena said, bringing up a holographic display. 17 previously abandoned Federation worlds have been recolonized in the past year alone. Species are returning to their ancestral homes, using adaptive technologies and techniques that combine human innovation with their own evolved strengths. The data showed more than just colonial expansion. Trade routes had multiplied as species learned to operate in environments they once avoided. Scientific breakthroughs occurred almost daily as different races combined their unique perspectives and capabilities. The Federation's economy had grown by 300% since implementing the reforms humanity had demanded. "We were so afraid of change," Zixtal mused, their crystalline form showing patterns of retrospection. "We built our entire civilization around avoiding challenges rather than overcoming them. We saw humanity's adaptability as a threat because it reminded us of everything we'd given." A commotion in the atrium below drew their attention. Dr. James Chen and Dr. Kaya Patel, the scientists who had uncovered the Federation's sabotage, were demonstrating their latest invention. It was a universal environmental adaptation system that could be customized for any species, allowing them to safely explore and work in conditions far beyond their natural tolerance. "The irony," Elena said, watching various Federation species eagerly examining the technology, "is that humans never wanted to dominate the galaxy. We just wanted to explore it, to push boundaries, to see what was possible. The real change wasn't forcing other species to become more like us. It was reminding them of who they used to be." In the 5 years since the crisis, humanity had indeed demonstrated why they were called Deathworlders, but not through violence or conquest. Instead, they had shown that surviving on a death world hadn't just made them physically strong. It had made them endlessly innovative, adaptable, and most importantly, willing to help others achieve the same resilience. The Proxima ruins had become a symbol of this new understanding. Regular expeditions now visited the site, with humans providing environmental protection, while other species contributed their unique expertise. Each discovery revealed more about how ancient civilizations had faced and overcome challenges rather than retreating from them. "There's something we never told the old council," Elena said, turning to Zixtal, "about the sabotage components we claim to have planted in Federation infrastructure." Zixtal's form flickered with surprise. "You mean it was truly a bluff?" Elena's smile carried a hint of that old steel. "The components we planted were real. But they weren't sabotage. They were improvements, subtle reinforcements, more efficient power distribution, better stress tolerance. We spent years studying Federation technology, not to destroy it, but to understand how we could make it better. Even when threatened, you chose to help rather than harm," Zixtal observed. "Perhaps that, more than anything, is why you survived your death world. Not just through strength or intelligence, but through cooperation and innovation." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message. A Federation mining colony had detected unusual seismic activity that threatened their deep core operations. In the old days, they would have abandoned the site. Now, they were requesting joint Human-Federation assistance to develop new solutions. Elena watched as teams began mobilizing. Humans, Thesians, Factions, and others, each bringing their unique capabilities to bear on the problem. This was humanity's true legacy to the galaxy, not the demonstration of their strength, but the reminder that any species could be strong if they faced their challenges head-on. "We should join them," she said to Zixtal. "After all, impossible problems are our specialty." As they headed to the Emergency Response Center, Elena reflected on how far they'd come. The Federation had feared that humans would force the galaxy to change. Instead, humans had shown them that change was not something to fear, but an opportunity to grow stronger together. The day the Deathworlders stopped holding back hadn't led to destruction, but to renaissance. And in learning not to fear humanity's strength, the galaxy had rediscovered its own.